Hey guys, let's talk about tonight's episode of Scandal. And whoa, this is a showdown, a throwdown between Fitz and the vice president. OMG. So it is revealed that he is behind the kidnapping of Olivia Pope, and he's basically blackmailing the president, holding her ransom, holding her hostage in order for him to go to West Angola and create a war. Yow. That is nuts. This was a good episode and I really liked it. It's like all these people, so you're telling me all these people are working for the vice president. Fitz can't trust anybody in the White House when the Secret Service is like, yeah, everybody, the guards, the this, the that, the servants are all like watching you. They're keeping their eye on you. I was like, what is happening? Fitz can't trust one person in there. Even when he goes to see Tom, and Tom is once again, telling him he had to make the tough decision choosing between a boy and a man and me. He basically made the sacrifice in order to have Fitz be the president for another 4 years. And he's known about this whole plan to kidnap Olivia. And once again, he uses that line, the face that launched 1,000 ships. And it's like, what? Everybody knows about this. Everybody's behind this coup. It's crazy. And of course, Cyrus is not in the know. Abby is not in the know. So the fact that when Fitz is cornered and he's basically said, look, if you have 48 hours or else we're going to behead Olivia, we all know what his answer is going to be. And I actually really liked the scene with Melly and him when they were on the balcony and he whispers to her that your boyfriend, obviously we all know that it's not, but that the vice president is holding Olivia and that he's going to kill Olivia, like that Fitz is going to kill Olivia in 24 hours if he doesn't go to war with Angola. And he says, I can't send all these people to their deaths just for one woman, even if it is Olivia Pope. And Melly's response is, I thought you loved her. And he's like, I do. And she's like, well, we haven't gone through all of this for a tryst, for some cheap sex with some random girl. You've done this. We've been through all of this because you love this woman. So you know what you have to do. And then it's like the next scene is him on the podium declaring war, I guess, against West Angola. And it's bananas. I mean, OMG. I thought Sally Langston was bad. Whoa. No, clearly this man is far worse. And he even says, like, when Lizzie Bear comes into the office and she's all like, hey, I didn't sign up for Olivia Pope getting kidnapped. He's like, well, you better pull up your bootstraps because you're in for the full ride. You wanted this war. You got this war. Don't complain about how you got it. And it's just, yikes. And I actually kind of liked how ruthless he was. But once again, Fitz is just getting played. He always just gets punked in every situation. He really does. So he finally opens up to Cyrus by just telling him to read a document so he'll understand exactly what's going on because Cyrus is clueless and he's very vocal to Fitz that he doesn't agree with this war and that he doesn't understand any of the decisions that he's making. And so Fitz is like, read this document, and this is his way of telling him. And I knew it, that this was going to be the way that he reveals that Olivia has been taken hostage. And once he realizes what's going on, he understands, he puts everything together, and he realizes why they're in this situation now. It was pretty good. Like, I really did enjoy this episode. Seeing Huck go nuts on Lizzie Bear, seeing what he did to Lizzie Bear, seeing him sitting in the child's bed over her, like being like, if you don't tell me the truth, I'm going to snap this little girl's neck. And it's like, yikes. So, yeah, Huck went a little cray-cray. But hey, it's all about Olivia, and you can't just take their girl and think that nothing's going to happen. And the other moment I loved was when my girl there from 227 walks in and he's like, where's the black lady? She's like, where's the black lady? And she keeps repeating it, where's the black lady? And everyone's like, what are you talking about? And obviously she's referring to Olivia Pope because her friend has gone missing, and we all know that her friend was murdered in last week's episode because she lived across the hall from Olivia, and she was a casualty of the Olivia kidnapping. And so her just constantly coming back to the office saying, "Where's the black lady?" and then Quinn even being like, So the black lady, I mean, Olivia, like it was a funny moment. Like in this moment where it's all been about the drama, it was a bit of a funny moment to see this woman walking in and demanding to see the black woman. So I thought that was kind of cute. We also saw Huck, Quinn, and Jake working together to try to figure out where Olivia was. And Olivia was like leaving little breadcrumbs. She asked for a glass of water when she was reading back what was on the cue cards for her to read to the president. And she tried to capture the hostage's face in the rear of the glass, and she obviously left the ring at the neighbor's home. So she's doing whatever she can to try to get her team to figure out where she is. And again, she was a hot mess in this episode, just, disheveled, not showered. That scene in the bathroom, I mean, it's like these men always have to teeter on that whole rape factor, like, oh, at any moment I could just do whatever I want to you. And he even says, like, don't, like, if I send you back damage, like, oh, it was just, listen, okay, we don't need to go there. We do not need to have this turn into seeing Olivia get raped or any of that, okay? So, but it's just that moment where you're just like, you're always vulnerable to that as a woman. And to see that he comes over and he puts his hand on her arm and, oh, it's just so creepy. And he's doing a really good job at being the bad guy. But like Olivia says to him when she finally not gets up the courage, because she had the courage last week when she shot the dude in the head. But when she finally is done with her tears and she's done, listening to his crap, and she says, I just put a bullet in my head because I want my last supper and I want to die, and I don't want you to have me sitting here for 3 years. I want to go. And after that conversation, she says, look, you're just basically a paid babysitter, or that's who you are, or you could be a boss and you could take me and try to sell me to the highest bidder. I'm basically the woman that anybody would pay for, because then they would have the president at their beck and call. And so she starts negotiating with the hostage taker, which is pretty cool because, this is the Olivia that we like to see, the woman who is aggressive, and she is always thinking on her toes. And she says it, look, you're missing out here. You could make millions. You could either be, she says, do you want to be a babysitter or do you want to be a boss? And it's like, boss, please. So, by the time they start to figure out exactly where she is, it's too late because she's already gone. Now, I love me some Melly. And I don't know how much this woman is going to sacrifice for her husband, because she basically goes back to the vice president and she has sex with him so that she could get his phones, so that she could find out more information about where Olivia is. And it's just one of those moments where Melly has chipped away so much of herself for this man, Fitz, who... And you know what? It's interesting because they had some very mature conversations in this episode where she basically tells the truth that she's been sleeping with him, and he has a bit of a reaction to that. But, she's being honest, and she even says, I thought that hooking up with him was going to make me feel better, and it was going to make me feel like what you have with Olivia, but it didn't. And basically, I'm better off with you because at least we have an understanding. We're a team. We work together. We've done everything everything we've been through has been to get to this point. And, they just have this mature conversation in this episode, which was kind of weird. And then when he finally tells her the truth and he's whispering in her ear about Olivia. And then at the end, she comes over and she says, I handled the situation. And you see the flashback, and she basically slept with him so that she could get his phone and give the information then to Huck. And she actually traded it off to Lizzie Bear, because Lizzie Bear's like, look, I didn't sign up for this. This is not what I had in mind when I wanted to sort of take over and become part of this VP who could then launch into the presidency. And she's having definite second thoughts. So she takes the phones to Huck, and she's like, okay, leave me out of this now. Leave me and my kid alone, and I'm done. So they are able to find out where Olivia is. And when Jake and the DEA team go in, swoop in, she's already gone. And this is when there's a phone call to the president, and it's Olivia, and of course they do their signature, hi, and then the guy takes the phone, he's like, hi, and then he's like, give me Olivia back, and he's like, yeah, I don't think so. And he pretty much tells Fitz, I'm going to sell your girl and you can start bidding if you want. And that's the only way you're going to get her back, kind of thing. And of course, this starts to chatter online. And so Huck is able to track it. And hopefully, they're able to pinpoint exactly where Olivia is going to be. And as Olivia's standing on this or sitting on this plane with her captor, she looks out the window and she has this smile on her face because she feels like she's gotten one up on him. And at the end of the day, we know she kind of has, but I don't think it's going to be that easy. It just can't be. So we'll see what happens. A good episode. I like that they brought Tom back, and Tom is kind of crazy himself at this point, but I like that he's still he's a man who's true to whatever it is that he's loyal to. So he was loyal to the president at a fault because he killed his son for him to get there. My whole question in this episode is, where is Papa Pope? Because I would think that somebody would have told him that is missing and that she's been held hostage. And we all know that Papa Pope is cray-cray, so he could get whatever he needs to get done. He could enlist his group of crazy B613 people and find out where Olivia is in a hot second. But he is nowhere to be seen in this episode, so I thought that was a little weird. And we'll see how long they keep this away from him. But again, Fitz tortured throughout this whole episode, trying to come to grips with the fact that he may have had to kill the love of his life in order to not create a war and kill thousands of innocent Americans. And he ultimately went to war for Olivia. And I like that at that moment when what's his name? Ian, I think is his name, who's holding Olivia, and he says, Bush went to war for his daddy. Clinton went to war to get over Monica Lewinsky, and he's just naming off all these people who have ultimately gone to war and because of love and because of sex and because of this and because of that. And you're just kind of like, yeah, he's like, history has proven that Fitz will go to war. So, another solid episode. I did enjoy it. And I like that, Lizzie Bear of all people came to the aid of the president pretty much, even though she's been working against him this whole time. And of course, the VP's just gross and slimy. And the fact that he, snuggles up to Melly and he's like, oh, it's you and me. If I make it to the presidency, it's me and you. It's like, ew, you're gross. Really, you are. And the other thing I liked when Olivia was giving her plea to Ian, she's basically like, if you use me, who you can get rich. And she's like, and basically I just want to get showered and change. And when you saw her on the plane, it's like, yeah, she also put a hot comb through that head because her hair looked nicely pressed and she looked fabulous, of course. But yeah, another solid episode, and we'll see what happens between Ian and Olivia and how she gets herself out of this new situation that she's now created. All right, guys, that's it for me. Another solid episode, and I liked the follow-up to last week's cray episode, and we didn't really get a lot of reveal in that episode as to where she was, who had her, why they had her, but in this episode, it was a good follow-up, and I really liked that opening scene where it was that standoff, and it was just a showdown right from the beginning, and of course, Fitz's hands were tied. So he had to act quick, and here is where we are. All right, guys, that's it for me. Let me know what you thought of this week's episode. Leave a comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you next week. Bye.